in Tahoe, there's a golf course right next to the race star, and I was thinking to myself, like, man, why did I choose such a hard sport? Golf's hard, but it's hard mental, like that mental like side of things, where this is just like physically and mentally. I'm like, man, what? Like, it'd be fun to just go play a nice round of golf right now, keep my heart rate low, like.
Welcome to Brainstoke. I'm Tom Telford with Preston Niederhauser. We are in the Aspire offices in Draper. Thank you to Aspire Medical for sponsoring this episode with Truman, Glasgow. Stoked to have you.
Stoked to be here.
All right, Truman. So you currently live in Utah County, right?
Yep.
Okay. I went to school in Utah County.
Cougar.
I'm a cougar. Don't hold it against me, anybody. But that was 20 years ago. Do you have the Mutual app on your phone? That's a yes.
I do. All right. I do, but I'm going to say it's paused right now. You can pause the account. The account's paused.
Okay.
So
Is
I'm not
that
using
possible?
it. Yeah.
Does that mean revenue is not flowing to Mutual? So when it's good, you're getting, but when it's not, you're paused. Okay.
Does that
okay,
mean
fair.
Okay, it's paused because there's a lady in your life? Maybe. Okay.
Yeah.
Enough said. We won't.
Or we will. Just
Utah
saying.
County, it's a special place. Look,
It is.
so you're at UVU,
Yeah.
I think, as a marketing major.
Yeah, digital marketing.
Okay, how close are you to being done with that program?
I have 2 years left.
Okay. All right, so we know we've been connected to Truman. You are a professional mountain bike racer.
Yep.
You also do some gravel racing. You're with the Imaginary Collective group, right? You're a sponsored rider there. You grew up in Utah. You're a NICA racer. Grew up in Alpine, I think.
Yep.
And I think I read somewhere that you owned a lawn mowing yard care business.
Yes. I don't know how you found
Through
that.
junior high and high school.
No.
Okay.
Maybe LinkedIn.
Yeah, I loved it.
Stalker.
Yeah.
Cougar and a stalker. It's all adding up. It all adds up.
Tell us about, let's start by just learn a little bit about your life growing up in Alpine. Tell us a little bit about your family. How'd you end up owning a lawn care business? Let's just kind of start from the beginning a little bit.
Yeah. I grew up in Alpine, born and raised there. Come from a family of, there's 6 of us. And the lawn care business started actually with my older brother, who I look up to a lot. He started mowing lawns and he just brought me along, and I started doing it with him. And then eventually when he moved out of the house, I took over. And
Did he sell that to you? Did you have to buy it from him?
I didn't, luckily. He left on his mission, and then I just took it over.
You inherited the business.
Yep, I inherited it.
Yes, the book of business was already there. The dirty work had been done.
On LinkedIn, that's called a 2X.
Yes.
2X. Just hype it, bro. You got to own that. Oh, I love it. That's cool.
So what high school did you go to?
I went to Lone Peak.
Okay. And where did you fit in the family of 6?
I'm a
4
middle,
kids?
Yeah, I'm middle child, second to youngest.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Good. So Lone Peak High.
yep.
What were you involved with at Lone Peak?
I played baseball up until my I played baseball my freshman year, and then tried out my sophomore year, and got cut from the team. We can go into that later because it kind of has to do with my story. But so played baseball, and then I raced mountain bikes sophomore year through my senior year.
Okay. And was someone in the family already a bike racer?
Yes.
Your older
brother? My older brother was, and my dad was as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So grew up watching my dad race the Leadville 100.
Oh, how
This last year was his 19th year doing it. It would have been his 20th if COVID didn't happen, but
Stop it. What's his name?
Mark Glasgow.
What's your first memory of
Mark,
Leadville?
you got to be in the... Why aren't you here, Mark?
I know, he needs to be on the podcast.
What's your
That's
first
amazing.
memory of Leadville then?
Oh, wow. I mean, watching my dad try and break sub-9 Leadville, that was always his goal.
Yeah.
And he had done like a 902 and 901. Like he'd been right
my
there a
gosh.
few years in a row. But yeah, and then I guess the first memory that comes to mind though is watching the lead pack of guys like Albin Licata and Todd Wells and a few other guys just like leading the charge. And I looked up to them a lot. Like I loved watching all the YouTube videos of Todd Wells riding a Specialized bike as a little kid, just racing World Cups and stuff. It was someone who I looked up to a lot. And yeah, watching those guys race is just like, I wanted to be them.
Yeah. So from a young age, this was in the DNA.
A little bit, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Was it part of family culture?
Totally, yeah.
So it wasn't just something Dad went and did and didn't involve everybody in. It was part of the deal.
Yeah, my mom actually, she's done the Silver Rush 50, and then which in my opinion is harder than the 100. And there's a lot of climbing those 50 miles up in Leadville.
Yeah.
And then she has also raced the 100. She made it like 80 miles and then had to pull out.
So, who's done more bottle hand-ups, you to your dad or your dad to you?
Oh, my dad to me, for
Your dad
sure.
to you?
Yeah.
How cool to grow up and see that and watch that.
No, definitely fortunate to be involved at such a young age and just witness that, yeah.
What is competition vibe in your household like? I mean, it sounds like your parents are both super driven. Does that come out in family culture, or is it more just, hey, if he's in, we'll help and support him, but otherwise they kind of take a step back and kind of let you do your thing?
Yeah. My dad, he's always been super supportive growing up. He never pushed me in a way that I didn't like. If I didn't want to do it, he wasn't going to force me to do it. I grew up playing baseball and football from a very young age. Up until I played football for 9 years, first grade through ninth grade, and he supported that. I rode bikes for fun, and yeah, just always super supportive. And as far as like cycling went, he didn't want to like help me out until he knew that I really wanted it. As far as like getting a better bike, or because I'm young, I can't afford the the S Works $10,000 whatever bikes.
For sure.
And so also like having that work ethic of like mowing lawns and saving up to be able to buy a somewhat nicer bike so that I can enjoy the sport even more. Like the more I don't know, it's just definitely he never pushed me in a way that I didn't want to be pushed, but whatever I wanted to do, he was there to support it. So.
Yeah.
Cool.
The commitment was a requirement first.
Yeah. Did he meet you in the middle to help you buy bikes? Is that kind of was?
So the first bike I bought so I had like the Trek aluminum frame, just like growing up, hitting jumps, doing that. And then he bought a fat bike. It had to have been I was in like 8th grade. He bought a fat bike, and I would show up to NICA practice on that thing because I didn't have a bike. It was like my little Trek was too small, and this bike was the only thing that I like fit or I could ride. And so I'd show up to Lone Peak practice on this tank rolling down the road. Here comes Truman rolling down the hill again because those tires are just so loud and thick. And yeah, I rode that. I practiced a lot when I was younger, and then when races would come around, those junior Devo years, my brother would let me ride his. He had it was like a 2012 or 2013 Specialized Epic, and he'd let me ride that. And yeah, so no, and then I guess I ended up buying my freshman year, I ended up buying a Specialized Epic. It was like a 2015 aluminum frame, 2x10. It was so heavy, but it was great. It was,
at the
I had a
time.
full suspension bike. Yeah, it was awesome. And yeah, and then eventually my dad was like, okay, like I can see that he really wants this. Like, and I sold that bike and then put all the money I got for that towards a new bike, and he met me in the middle and helped me out there.
Right on.
So fortunate to have that support.
When you look back on your childhood, aside from biking and, these epic races, obviously, that are going on, your parents are involved with, what else was going on with family? When you reflect back, family culture, life, like chaos, chill.
No, it was,
work.
it was pretty chill. We were all super close, get along really well. I mean, we're not perfect by any means, but like, it was a good environment. I always wanted to be like my older brother. No matter what he was doing, I was always following in his footsteps. It started at a very young age, whether it was like sledding in the backyard, and then that sledding turned into skiing in the backyard and building jumps with his buddies. They were pushing me. Like I did my first backflip on skis when I was 9 years old, and I was out there with my brother and his friend, and I wanted to do a backflip because I was seeing them do them, but they built me a jump to do it, and then I kept getting scared, and they're like, okay, well, we're gonna go and you can't come in until you do it. And I was like, but I wanted them to see it.
Yeah.
So I ended up doing it that next time, but it was just, always like they were pushing me, but it was in a good way and an old brother way.
Yeah.
But good environment, competitive, but also loving, and just we're all super close, so it's been good.
That's cool. When you think about your siblings, and it sounds like your older brother had such a significant impact on you, when you think, the racing that you're doing now, for example, like, and we'll dive into P2P, more specifically, but is the way you were raised part of the fuel that is now driving some of the things that are happening today?
Yeah, I've never thought about it like that, but I would say yes. Just that competitiveness and trying to be as good as the person I look up to.
Yeah.
Is definitely pushed me along and made me want to be better.
Yeah.
So.
It's interesting that you say it because we get to interview, a lot of people, and that tends to be part of the smoothie makeup of the humans we interview at times, that whether it's an older sibling or peers, that there was an environment where people were helping in a positive way, for the most part, in a positive way, encourage younger siblings to do and become way ahead of their time. The fact that you just said, I was doing backflips at 9 years old on skis, right? This isn't the norm, often. And so, so that family makeup, it sounds like that was important. Like the positive peer pressure of older brother became a dynamic of what helped shape you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to mention, like, he also cycles. He's a cyclist. He's been off the bike for a little over a year now, just dealing with some health issues and just fatigue. Still figuring it out, but he's right up there with me. Like, we've been neck and neck at races like BWR Cedar City. There's a photo of us coming down. There's a final descent around, or after the big climb at mile 109, there's a photo of us coming down this descent, and there's just dust flying everywhere. We're both in the same kit, and it's just like, I look at that photo and it's really special to me because I look up to him so much, like I said earlier, and just to be out there together and all that we've been through, it's like, it's a moment that you can't recreate, and it's rare. And so I look at it just super grateful and just happy to have him as a big brother. His name's Spencer, by the way. I guess I could refer to him as Spencer instead of older brother.
So Spencer, a baseball player then?
He did play baseball, yep. Baseball, football.
And so you were doing whatever Spencer did.
Yep.
Yeah. So when I think you mentioned that you didn't make it on the baseball team at some point.
Yep.
Were you crushed because Spencer was on the baseball team and you weren't? Or was there something else going on there? I
never really thought about it like that. It was more so just like, I didn't expect it to happen, if I'm being honest. Like, I didn't see it coming at all.
Yeah.
I grew up playing with the kids that were on the team. Like, I felt like I was right there with them. And when I got cut, it just like, I just did not see it. I did not see it coming. And so there was that. And then there was like, okay, well, all my friends that I've grown up with for the last 9 years or whatever, like, they're all going to be doing something different. They're going to have that connection that I won't have.
Yeah.
And so that was hard. And then like going to school and my personality kind of being that baseball player is gone now.
Yeah.
And there was definitely like, okay, I could try out again next year and push see what I can do there. But it just, there were days in summer, I played summer ball going into my sophomore year going into my sophomore year, I played summer ball, and there were days where I'd be at practice and I'd be thinking about riding my bike up in Corner Canyon. So there was that. Like, I definitely liked cycling at the time, but it also was just like, I feel like baseball is a lot more accepted as a sport in high school. I mean, trying to fit in and whatnot, but I mean, now it's the Nike League's crazy, so it's becoming more of a norm, which is awesome. But yeah, and then switching to cycling was like, well, people kind of think this is like, it's different.
Yeah.
And I'm wearing spandex and I ride my bike a lot and I tell people I can't hang out because I'm going to go on a training ride. And so there was, all that just kind of tied into when I got cut. It was hard just accepting that.
When did you were dealing with wanting to feel accepted, but falling in love with something that was going to kind of make you do a lot of things on your own or be on your own time? How did you come to grips with it all? Like, at what point did you fully and just embrace? I'm no longer tight with the baseball players. I'm this guy that wears spandex, right? Yeah. How did you come to grips with it in the end?
So it was a couple days where I just kind of moped around and was pretty bummed out. My dad he loves telling this story. But I think after like the third day or so, he was like, so you're just going to keep moping around? Like, what's the deal? And I looked at him and I was just like, you're right. Like, this isn't what I want to be doing. And in that moment, I told him that my goal was to be the best mountain biker in the state of Utah, in the Nike League. Yeah. That's what I told him. I wanted to win a state championship and be the points leader and all that. And so from that moment forward, like, I just started putting in the work, and that just put me on the path of where I am now. And it was kind of that like breaking point of, okay, like, baseball is no longer something that I'm going to be doing, but cycling is something I'm really passionate about and I love. And I didn't really know it at the time, but when I got cut and it just like helped me realize all those things, it's led me to where I am today.
What did your dad say when you told him, I'm going to be a state champ? I want to wear the leader's jersey.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I should remember. I think I was so.
It took everything in his body not to just jump on the table. He's like, no more double headers. We get to ride bikes together. Yeah. This is like, every prayer in his life had just been answered with your struggle, right?
He was pretty serious, I think, and he said, "All right, like, let's go to work."
Yeah,
cool.
So we got to double click on this story. I got to take you back.
Let's do it.
Because as someone who had their persona, right? All my buddies, my whole life at school, all of the adults in my life knew me as your ski racer guy, right? Yep. So blow a knee out at 13 and all of a sudden it's like, it wasn't just a knee. It wasn't just the race. It was, I don't know who I am anymore without that. And no one else knows me as that. So when you talk about the moping, go a little further into that, because there's something that was going on, right? It wasn't just like, oh, this is like something I need to hurry and get over really quickly. Like, we're talking about recreating a person, right? So if you don't mind, dive further back into that.
Yeah, I'll try. I mean, it's been a while, so I'll try my best to go into it, but... And I want to say a lot of it was just that acceptance and like the being rejected in a sense. Like, growing up, I hadn't experienced that, and so it's a lot of these like new emotions that I'm trying to deal with and learn how to deal with. And just like, I'm trying to think of what I was thinking, but I just
disappointed.
Yeah, just disappointed, devastated. Like,
you were rejected, and that brings on disappointment. Was there any shame? Like, and I hate to even use the word, but heavy, right? These big emotions for that age.
Yeah, I think there was definitely shame there. Just like, did I not work hard enough? Is it that I wasn't like focused enough on that one thing? All these thoughts came into my head.
Yeah.
And I love to ski, as I was saying, and I started thinking like, well, is it because they see that I ski and I'm like, there's a risk of me getting injured. I was using social media at the time.
Yeah.
And loved creating videos, posting videos, and me doing flips and stuff. So I also wondered, like, is it because they see that I'm like doing these things and they think I'm not focused on baseball? When I was going to the CrossFit trainings early mornings, or early in the morning, twice a week, going to all the practices after school, like doing everything to be on the team. And then for that to happen, it was just like, what happened? Like, yeah. So just a lot of
second guessing every choice you were making.
Like,
almost.
Yeah. What happened?
It, as you describe it, I'm feeling like you were navigating for the first time, maybe not the first time, but you were navigating, do I matter? In the same way that you had mattered before, you know, totally. You had tied a lot of who you were to a sport. And thank you for sharing that disappointment, you know, in that it's heavy. And I think that a lot of teens go through that first moment where the disappointment and they start to have that question of, you know, do I matter? And if I do, at what? Yeah. You know, and it's heavy.
Yeah, I
mean,
think
so
I'm sorry.
I'm just going to say, so as much as it's like, well, these are youth sports, like grow up, right? But in the moment, right, we're talking about, this is who I am as a human. Like, that's all I know. My self-esteem, my confidence is tied to doing that thing. And so even hearing you describe where the coach is seeing my skiing and wondering if I'm committed, like, those are really big questions to navigate as a teenager, like, or adults caring about what I do, you know?
I was just going to add, I think the great part of your story is you had something else to turn to, you know, and I think sometimes teenagers and your high school kids, when they're disappointed, sometimes they don't have anything else. They've tied their entire identity to baseball. Mm-hmm. And thankfully, in your home, you grew up with a love of multiple things, and bike racing was something else that was there that allowed you to gravitate towards, you know, and pull you out of the 3-day despair.
Yep.
You know? Yeah.
What was it in you, Truman, that took you from I'm no longer baseball guy, or at least I'm gonna navigate away from that, to being able to say, not just, hey, I'm gonna go ride my bike, to I'm going to be the state champion?
I mean, I think.
Did you know what you were capable of at that age, even though you were disappointed?
Yeah, no, I mean, the previous year, I raced as a sophomore, and I had like top 10 finishes. I think I had podiumed a few times, and I wasn't doing it like, I wasn't fully focused on it. I was also playing football and then playing baseball. I was like trying to just go to races on the weekends when I could. Yeah. And so I knew there was like, if I really put my focus into it, like I could be good at it. Not that I wasn't, like I could be better at it, I guess. And so when that happened, it was just like, all right, I wanted it in the moment back in my freshman year when I was racing, but I didn't want it as much as I wanted to play baseball or play football. Like, and I stopped playing football my freshman year to focus on baseball. And so that was also hard because I'd given up football just to focus more on that. And
aside from the mountain biking and the biking itself and the capability, if you just focused on the bike, but what was it in you as a human, as a young man, that allowed you to say, no, I got this, you know, I can be really good at something? What was the self-belief in you?
Yeah. I mean, just believing that I can I'm plain and simple, like knowing that if I put my mind to something, I can achieve it. And after being rejected from the baseball team, that was like, wait, and completely just turning my mindset around was a hard thing to do. But at the same time, I was like, no, I really I do like biking. I want to be good at it. And so if I just really focus on the training and focus on working at it every single day, then I think I can achieve whatever it is that.
Was there like a mantra in your home that led you to believe that? Like, was there something that you had been taught where you knew, hey, I can do this?
It's going to go back. It's going to go back to my older brother, Spencer. So we actually shared a room. We're 5 years apart, and we shared a room for a few years before he left on his mission. We had bunk beds, classic. Like, but he always had this saying of never give up, and he would just write like NGU on everything. And I picked that up just being around him, and so it was just that never give up. And I didn't really think about it like, oh, well, did you give up on baseball? Like, it was different. It was like, no, I'm not going to give up on what I feel like I can achieve. And there were other reasons, like with the baseball team, of not wanting to try out that next year that like led me to focusing fully on cycling. But yeah, just never give up was that mindset. And whether I went into that next year losing a race or whatever, like I knew like, I'm not going to give up. It's just one race. Like there's more to it than just this one single race or bad training day, whatever it is. And I wanted to mention on the bunk beds, he had, there was like, I don't even know what the material was, but he had scratched into the bottom of an NGU. And then when he left on his mission, I actually took the lower bunk bed and then I would stare up at that every single night.
Spencer sounds like a stud.
No, he's awesome. He's an incredible guy. Like, I can't say more good things about him. I could say so much about him.
Yeah,
he's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah, awesome.
We're going to talk more about never give up because I think that there's something that's there. But as we kind of move on, from the baseball years, I have to ask you this question just because I'm intrigued about this, because I can tell emotionally that was a powerful thing in your life. As you look back now and the things that you've accomplished as an adult, is there a chip on your shoulder from that era, from rejection?
Yeah, absolutely. Whether it's that moment in time or fast forwarding a few years. I mean, I went into that race season, we'll go into this just real quick, with the mindset I want to be the points leader, I want to be fast. And I was a junior racing varsity, so there were fast kids in varsity that were expected to win. They were like, everyone knew who they were. They'd been fast. They'd been racing national races. I didn't even know what like USA Cycling was at that age. Like, it wasn't until my senior year or I guess my sophomore year that I started doing that, or junior year, sorry. But yeah, so went into that first race, and I knew there's one guy I had to beat, and I went into it just like, I'm going to get on his wheel, and on the last lap, I'm going to just give it everything I have. And I think that part of like being cut from the baseball team definitely fueled that, and I ended up winning that race. And then I won the next race in a sprint, and we went back and forth a few times. But the next year, so as a senior, and I want to bring this up just because it's another part of my story that I feel like kind of fuels me in a sense, but I wasn't able to race the last like 2 or 3 races of my senior year. I'd raced the first one, ended up winning it, raced the second one sick, not knowing, but I had Epstein-Barr virus, and I barely won that in a sprint. And then after that race, I just went downhill, like so sick, wasn't getting better, and I just thought I was sick, like, and so after a few weeks, I went to the doctor, to the classic, like, get an antibiotic because I've been sick for so long. It didn't get better from the antibiotic. Went back in, and they did a blood test, and Epstein-Barr virus was positive, and so that came with my spleen being enlarged, and with only a few weeks left in the season, the doctors are like, there's no way you can ride a bike for like 2 months. Like, if you crash and rupture your spleen, you could die. And so trying to just navigate that, and me thinking like, oh, well, if I do everything, like if I just recover, and I was sick for like really sick for probably 3 or 4 weeks, like just never had felt like that. And then I started feeling better, and I went and saw, do you know Max Testa?
Yep.
So
I was with him 3 weeks ago.
Oh, no way, yeah. Max is awesome. Spent a lot of time with him, and I went and saw him it was like 3 or 4 days before state, because I wanted to get that approval of like, you can race state, because that was my goal from the beginning, was like, I want to race state and I want to be a state champion. And the previous year I didn't have a good race. I ended up taking like 9th or something. And so I was like, well, this is it. Like, this is my last shot of achieving that goal. And so I went and saw Max. They did an ultrasound on my spleen, and it was still enlarged. And he sat me down, and he said to me, he's like, you gotta look at the bigger picture. He's like, do you want to race bikes beyond high school? And I was like, absolutely. And he's like, then this one race, it won't matter in the long scheme of things. Like, you're not going to race this race. Just accept it.
Yeah.
Don't do it. It's not worth it. And focus on the bigger picture. And hearing that from Max was really comforting because he gets it. Like,
Yeah.
sports medicine doctor, he works with cyclists all the time.
Yeah.
He knows. Hearing it from a family doctor was different. I'm like, no, like, you don't understand.
Yeah.
Like,
For
they're
our-
great. But
Totally.
For our listeners, Dr. Max Testa is a world-renowned sports physician. He's worked with literally the best cyclists and endurance athletes on the planet. He has ties to the biggest names. Name any of them, including Peter Sagan,
Yep.
Lance Armstrong, and the list goes on and on. He's in Park City. So fantastic physician. Could any other physician have delivered that news to you and have you embrace it that way?
I don't think so. Just
Yeah.
the way he is, he's such an awesome man. Like, he's so he care. You can tell he genuinely cares.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest thing for me. Like, hearing that when he said that, I was like, okay, like, I gotta listen to him.
Yeah.
Was your mom in that meeting?
She was, yeah.
Tell us about your mom.
She's an angel. She's awesome. She's so supportive and so hardworking and patient and just willing to go out of her way to do whatever it is that I need help with, whether it's cycling or personal life or whatever. Like, she's always there for me, and I'm very blessed to have her in my life and just the example she's been to me and the support she's shown me.
How relieved was she when you accepted Max's advice?
Yeah. She was relieved for sure.
That's not an easy thing to go through. So I'm going to take you back again,
Yeah.
if that's okay. We're Epstein-Barr brothers. I have it too. I learned that I had it at the height of when I was doing Ironman stuff.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. And, for listeners, to put it in context, Epstein-Barr, they say often, is the type A driven personality is going to wear themselves down and are more subject to the Epstein-Barr virus, right? I mean, I had physicians who were like, you need to quit your job and stop racing and all of these things, right? And so rest was a key factor. How are you dealing with like school? Because when you have Epstein-Barr, mono makes you fatigue. Epstein-Barr is like mono on crack, like to the 10th degree, right?
Yeah.
So were you going to school?
Yeah, so I was a senior in high school. I was trying to study for the ACT and going to school. And then, it was just like, it was definitely hard to get through that and be able to just sit in school and focus and go throughout my day, I guess. But yeah, I just like kept pushing forward and I focused on other things. I also, I think I mentioned earlier, I do videography. And so while I wasn't able to ride my bike, that was another thing that I've always been interested in and passionate about. And so I fell back on that and started just like, because I couldn't ride my bike, I would go and just make videos with my friends and do another thing to kind of keep myself occupied and busy and focus on other things instead of just dwelling and being tired and not motivated.
Yeah. That's not easy to do, to pivot like that, and to focus on other stuff. But clearly, you cut your teeth during those years because your Instagram is incredible. You're clearly doing some amazing work with video also. How are you as a student? I'm interested to know.
Right now, it's just I'm all online. I only take a couple credits a semester just because with how much I have going on, it's as much as I can handle.
Yeah.
If I take any more, I'd probably just drop out because I'm racing, traveling a lot. Like I've raced 4 out of the last 4 out of 5 weekends.
Wow.
I've raced, and so it's a lot. And I maybe could do more, but at the same time, it's trying to have that balance, that healthy balance of not taking on too much and also being able to focus on what I want to focus on. And
The beauty of online school now.
yeah,
Right.
No, it definitely helps.
So what does a race week look like for you in terms of time on the bike in preparation for it, just to lead up?
Yeah.
Just curious.
So I try to be on whatever bike I'm going to be racing. Weeks leading up to that, whenever the last race is, say I raced 2 weeks ago and I have a race coming up in 2 weeks, it's a gravel bike race, and the race before was a mountain bike. I'll switch straight to my gravel bike. I'll just start training on that, and try to be on that bike as much as I can. And then that week leading up, I'm on that bike every day. I usually do, hours wise, I usually do like around 11, 10 hours that week. But what I've noticed is I perform better for whatever reason when I don't taper into a race. So I don't take it easy, like a rest week going into the race. I like to hit it pretty hard on Wednesdays, sometimes Thursday, just depending. But yeah, I usually hit it hard on Wednesday, like see what the legs have in them, see how they're feeling. And then Thursday's like recovery day, and then Friday's openers, just getting the legs opened up. And I try to, it's almost like the same workout every time. And even though I'm not being coached, there's workouts that I've taken from past coaches, and I use like the same openers that I used for my coach a couple years ago to help me just have somewhat of a routine and whatnot.
How long have you had that same kind of routine or schedule, the way you approach things?
So I didn't realize it worked until I did that last year in July, like the week before the Tahoe 100. I went on a ride on Wednesday, and I was just like, I want to see what the legs have. Like, and I went pretty hard. So I actually chase KOMs is kind of how I do my training, whether it's my own KOM that I have or
Intentionally
someone else's.
KOMing.
Yeah. So
okay.
I just base it off of that. It keeps it fun. Like, I really enjoy it. I've had coaches and I've had structure, and it's just I haven't raced as well with that structure, and it could be because I haven't found like a good fit with the coach that I'm working with, or it could be that I'm getting sick, whatever it is. Like, but I realize that I enjoy riding my bike the most when I'm just going hard when I want to go hard, and recovering when I feel like I need to recover. And so, yeah, going back to the race routine, a year ago, I went hard on that Wednesday. I did this ride up Squaw Peak, and then there's a dirt road that goes from Squaw Peak to Hobble Creek Canyon. And I just like hit a section of that pretty hard. And then this year leading into that race, I was like, I'm going to go do that. Because I finished third last year at that race. That was one of my first, that and one other race were like kind of my breakthrough races last year. And I was like, I'm going to just do that same thing. But I was coming off of Crusher, and I didn't have a good race there, and I tapered into that race. So I was like, what the heck? Like, I tapered into this race, well recovered, like feeling ready. And then in 45 minutes into the race, I was off the back of the pack, just like in survival mode. And so my legs are still like pretty cooked from Crusher. It's Wednesday, and I go and hit this Strava segment that's on that dirt road. And I think it was a 55-minute segment, or it was an hour segment at the time. I think I beat it by like 5 minutes. And I was like, all right, like the legs are back. And so I went into Tahoe and had another good race there this year. I finished second. It was pretty close between me and this kid. I'm drawing blank on his name right now. He's fast though. He's young. He's like 19.
Yeah.
If it comes to me, I'll mention him. But yeah, so I did that, and then I was like, all right, like I'm gonna keep doing this, and it's just kind of become part of my routine these last few weeks. Before races, at least, I try to.
Don't let off the gas too much.
Yeah.
Just keep at it.
I mean, I have been off the bike for a few days this week, which is weird because I'm used to just ride.
It's been raining, and it makes it a little more challenging.
Well, it was like 4 out of 5 weekends racing. I'm like, I need to break. It was my ship was sinking.
Take us back to this time segment. So, get out of high school. You didn't get to finish, with a state race. Got a couple chips on the shoulder, though. Epstein-Barr, you've been sick. Baseball team. So stacking these chips a little bit. Where do you go from there? At what point where do you go from there? And then what occurs where you circle back to racing and go, okay, I'm game on now. I'm healthy. I can get after it.
Yeah. I'll tell this story really quick, but there's one more like leading in. So I graduated high school, and I did the Pro XCT circuit throughout the United States, racing like Missoula, here in Utah, national champs in Colorado, went to Puerto Rico. So bounced around, did some races, got some UCI points, was kind of chasing the shorter format races. But my big goal was to race Leadville, the 100 I had a mission call. I'm LDS, and had a mission call I put my date for like a few days after the Leadville 100, like my availability date to leave, because I wanted to race that race. And I was finally old enough to do it, because I'd grown up all these years watching my dad do it. I was finally old enough, so I get in that year, and I'm racing it, and the week leading into it, it's the dumbest thing. I am mowing my parents' lawn, and I'm wearing Nike slides. It's like a Monday, and I go to like empty the grass where our pile of grass is, and there's like some dead branches in the like tall grass that we don't cut, and I kind of like galloped out of that grass to get back on where the lawnmower was, and I had this branch just like perfectly take my Nike slide right off my foot, and then my next step I stepped and like this wood chip just went in my foot, and I was just like, what the heck just happened? It didn't hurt that bad, but I like looked at my foot. I'm like, oh, there's a like pretty big size splinter in there. So I tried to pull it out with my hands and couldn't get it. And so I went inside, just grabbed some tweezers, like got it out. It was probably like that big though in my foot. Put some Neosporin on it, put a Band-Aid, and I just like finished mowing the lawn. I was like, whatever. And then the next day I woke up and I was like, there's something in, like I didn't get it all. That's what I was thinking. And so, anyways, went to a foot doctor, did another ultrasound, like looking at my foot. And he's like, you got two options. We can either cut it open and make sure there's nothing else in there, because he couldn't see anything. And I'm like, it hurts. Like I couldn't ride. It was right on the ball of my foot. He's like, we can cut it open, make sure there's nothing in there, and we'll get it cleaned out. I'll put extra stitches on it, and you can do your race. Or you can leave it, and whatever's in there will eventually work its way out. And I'm like, well, option one, like I can't even ride my bike right now. So he cuts it open, cleans it out, doesn't see anything. Extra stitches on it. I walk out of there with my foot numb, and I'm fine. And that night, just like never experienced pain like this. The numbing wore off, and we like took the bandage off, and infection was spreading throughout my foot. And so I went to the ER. Didn't end up going. I was supposed to leave to Leadville that day. That was out of the picture, so I didn't get to race Leadville that year. But yeah, they cleaned it up, put some packing in it, let it air out, or like just drain itself, and it was, yeah, I didn't get to race it. So there was just one more chip to the shoulder, like I said, and yeah, so they're all stacking up. But then, yeah, I guess when I got back from my mission.
Was that aside from the pain of your foot, were you disappointed though?
Oh yeah.
Because you were fit, right?
Yeah, I was. I had a coach all that entire year. I was in good shape, like, and I just tried to look at it like, man, like I wasn't supposed to race that race. Like that was my mindset. And it's in the moment, it's harder to think that, but I always have tried to just like have that positive mindset and think there's a reason behind all these things that happened. And so yeah, it was definitely hard knowing that like I wasn't going to get to race it for 2 years or whatever. But
did you come home from a mission thinking you had unfinished business, or was it really just, I want to get healthy. I want to,
Yeah, as far as like cycling goes, are you saying?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to get back to where I was. That was the biggest thing. Like, I knew that I was in good shape before I left, and I knew I wasn't in good shape. Like, I went and rode with my dad. We did this. There's a steep climb in Alpine that we call it the Hemagog. There's like up towards Olymp Peak. There's a dirt road, and it's steep, and he loves it. That climb, it's just straight up. And so we went up there, and he dropped me, and he's loving it, and I'm just like huffing and puffing, can't even breathe. Like, but yeah, so
25 lbs.
Yeah, it was a lot, but yeah, got back in shape. Just through chasing the KOMs, like I was talking about earlier with those longer segments. There were a lot of guys in Utah County that were just like, they'd go hit it, they'd get it. You'd see on Strava, they'd get a new KOM and then be like, oh man, like I think I can beat that. And then you go and take it, and then they'd take it from you. And it was just like a lot of back and forth between all these guys. It was friendly competition. It was great, like as much as we could do during COVID, with there not being any racing. And so that's kind of how I raced. I just got myself back into shape through the KOM hunting, and it's kind of stuck ever since.
Was that next chapter already decided that I'm going to race bikes for a living, or have you figured that out?
That's still in the works.
Is it?
That's the dream. Yeah, I mean, I came home and I wanted to get back to where I was at before, faster than where I was at before, and I've always been super passionate about it from a young age and just growing up around it. And so if I can make a living out of it, like that would be incredible. I've always been the type of person that's just like, do what you love. And if you don't love it, like don't do it. a stubborn mindset, but I'm really passionate about that. Like the outdoors is something I enjoy a lot. I love skiing in the winter. Most guys are moving to Tucson or wherever to somewhere warmer to train on their bike, and I instead tour backcountry ski, hiking uphill, working out that way. But then I'm also putting in those training rides out around Utah Lake in 20-degree weather, snowing sideways. So it definitely just like calluses the mind. Like you get tougher in those moments where riding in the warm weather is definitely beneficial, but it's that mental side I think has a lot to do with cycling. And when it comes to those warmer days in the season, hard races, whatever's going on, like you can pull from that.
Yeah.
When you decided to dive back in, were you keeping lists? Are you a list guy? Where you're like, hey, these are the races. This is what I'm chasing. You know, do you actually set specific goals?
Yeah, I have an interesting relationship with goal setting. I mean, it's hard as an athlete to set goals and then to not achieve them. It definitely can have a reverse effect, in my opinion. And so, like, going into a race, I try to have, like, a goal that is kind of beyond what I might be capable of if everything goes the way it's supposed to go. And then, like, a secondary goal where it's like, okay, if, like, something else or something happens, like if I could finish a top 10 or whatever in this race, like that would be good. So yeah, I definitely like look at races and who's there and if like, and kind of size myself up, I guess, in a sense, to see what, or like to figure out what I'm capable of. But I don't like to go into it and be like, okay, like I have to win this race. Like this is the race I'm going to win. And if I'm not in first place, then like, it's not even worth racing. I don't have that mindset, because then when you crash and bend your derailleur hanger like I did last weekend, and you think your race is over, like, because you're not in that front group. Like I was in the lead group when that happened, down in the Rad, in Trinidad, Colorado, and it just kind of like, all right, well, that's not what I was expecting, and it sucks. And I was fortunate enough to I grabbed my derailleur with my hands and just like bent it back and somehow got my wheel to start. My wheel was locked up. Like I couldn't even spin it. Somehow it started working. And then it was just like from there, like, I'm just going to go and see what I can do.
Yeah.
Like falling back on that, like never give up mindset.
Yeah. I think that's so brilliant that you have this intentional, methodical approach to goal setting. It's such a healthy way to race that, you know, you're not necessarily saying, I'm going to go win X or P2P or whatever, that, you know, you're looking at, you know, those experiences as that, an experience. Do you think about it that way? That no matter what happens, win, lose, crash, DNF, that this is a learning experience. It's going to give me the wisdom for whatever's next.
Absolutely. I mean, and in the moment, it's hard to look at it that way when it happens, because you don't expect it. But coming out of it, like whenever something does go wrong, it's definitely like, okay, more fuel to the fire. I learned here, like the reason my derailleur, or like crashed and bent my derailleur hanger, was because my chain dropped off the front of my bike. And so I was pulling over to put my chain back on, and I look back and see like the Lifetime Grand Prix Razor with the big film camera like coming up right behind me. And so I got over even farther, and I was just trying to be fast so I could get back on the group, and lost my front tire as I was slowing down, like just something so dumb like that. Yeah. But it's just like little things like, okay, like maybe had I, in that race, I can look at like maybe had I had a chain guard on there, like none of that would have happened. And so it's like, all right, now I'm not going to race without a chain guard. And yeah, definitely learning experiences every time I race, whether it's a win or a lose, like you can take something away from it every time.
So this year, you've had a pretty good year.
Towards the end of the season, yeah. The beginning, I want to say it was rough for me. I was being coached, and that's kind of why I'm so passionate about
riding by feel,
because I was coached from December until May, and I was getting sick a lot again. Like I was sick like the first like 3 months of the year, like on and off, and so that just throws training in the trash, it feels like. And so in May, I just was like, all right, like there was a race where Grand Junction, Rides and Vibes is what it's called. And I'd finished third at that race the previous year. That was my first breakthrough race. And like finishing third with a stacked field, guys like Todd Wells, Ryan Standish, Stephen DeValis, like fast dudes are there. And I was sitting like 14th or 15th and just blown like an hour in. I'm like, what is going on? Like, I've been healthy leading into this race. Like, why do I feel just like absolute garbage? And it almost was to the point of like, I'm not even enjoying this, which is not like me. And so I kind of went back, like after that race, I was just reevaluating, like, what did I take away from this? And I came to conclusion, like, okay, like I gotta go back to what I was doing. I gotta just ride off a feel. I also was like working a job that wasn't ideal for my training. And I think not that I didn't have enough time to train, but it was just more so like the stress factor. And so I was like, all right, I'll figure out, like, I'll go back to doing video stuff, freelance videography, whatever I got to do to like work for myself and be my own, like work on my own time so that I can not stress when I'm training and feeling like I need to be doing something else.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that I just kind of went back to that. And since then it's been good.
Truman, talk more about the stress.
Yeah. No, I know.
Because
I
you mentioned
it
it there, and I'm intrigued because there's something interesting about having a coach, not having a coach. Is there something about someone else and the expectations or trying to satisfy someone else's expectations versus your own?
You couldn't have said it more perfectly, in my opinion. Like, I think that's part of the reason why I was getting sick so much. Those first few months of the year, there were days where I felt like I probably shouldn't ride my bike, and I didn't want my coach to think like, oh, he's not motivated or he's not committed. He doesn't love the sport. Because kind of falling back on that like whole baseball thing, it's just like PTSD in a sense of like, he doesn't think I'm committed. And there were days where I would go and backcountry ski and get a good workout in there, but then I'd come back and like do my ride as well and just feel blown. Like, so there's a lot of that, but yeah, just trying to please him and make sure he knows that I want it bad enough. But then I was driving myself into a hole, I guess, in a sense. And
so really some of your training was more to please than to actually maybe improve your own fitness.
Yeah. Trying to hit numbers and be there is what I was trying to do, I guess. And it wasn't ideal.
Yeah.
You know, it's part of the recipe. I think it's so cool that you've found this, you know, that there's something about others' expectations, your own immune system, you know. Maybe I shouldn't say this, but you're one of the fastest dudes we know, and yet your immune system probably is not as fast as you're capably do. You know what I mean? And so that's an interesting thing for a racer to get to the point where they know themselves well enough to know, hey, this may not necessarily be what most are doing, but it's how I need to do it.
Yeah.
Was that hard to let go of the coach or to kind of say?
It was. Yeah, I was sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say it was hard to like end that relationship. The guy I was being coached by is awesome. And it just wasn't working for me. And I just told him that like, I need to figure things out for the next few months. Like if I feel like I want to come back in the future, like I'd love to keep working with you. But for now, like, I got to go back to what I was doing last year. Cause I'm not enjoying the bike as much as I was before. And so that's something I'm super passionate about as well now, is just like, keep it fun. Like, but cycling's too beautiful of a sport to just dig your own grave and drive yourself into a hole. Like,
in your peak of enjoyment, like, how do you know that's occurring? You know, when you're KOMing joy, what does that look like to you, or what does it feel like?
Like, sorry, can you like?
Yeah, the enjoyment factor. So it sounds like, I mean, you went to an extreme to stop a coached relationship, to bring enjoyment back in. So when do you know the enjoyment is there?
Yeah.
Is it that you're not getting burned out?
I think it's more so, for me at least, it was just like, okay, I'm faster. I'm making progress. I'm faster than I was last year. I go and I chase a KOM or a PR or whatever. I PR this hill climb, and I'm like, okay, like I did that last year when I was in peak shape, and I just beat that. Like, this is good, like a good sign that I'm moving in the right direction. And yeah, it's not the normal route that most of these professional cyclists go, but it's something that I found works for me, and I find joy in that. And either that or just like going out and riding. Like, I think after I stopped working with my coach, like that week, I went and did a few just like long, like 5-6 hour or so rides, just out towards like Camas, Oakley, Utah, and then like around Utah Lake, just like riding zone 2, zone 3, and riding based off of feel, and just really finding that just like love for working hard and pushing myself at my own pace. And it's it just like kind of brought me back to where I was, what I was doing and where I was at before.
So is that how you approached P2P? Now, before you answer, all 4 of us in this room have raced P2P. Okay. Well, 3 of you have raced. 1 of you has just ridden it.
Come on, riding it alone is just
no. Okay, so Point to Point is in Park City. It's 75 miles, roughly 12,000 vertical feet of all single track. It's an amazing race that probably doesn't get enough respect or credit for what it really is. Probably, it's the hardest thing I've ever done compared to like a Lodoja or something else. It's just hard, right? And Tom's done it, I think, 4 times. JT's done it, I think, twice. So, I mean, we understand what that race is, but to go at the speed you win and to truly race it is something we can't comprehend. How did you approach it? So we've learned a little bit about goals and how you approach goals, and you didn't really pin yourself down that I have to win this or else. So talk to us a little bit about that particular race, and maybe tell us how that race went, some of the things you felt as you went.
Yeah, I think going into it, I mean, in years past, I tend to peak towards the end of the season, so it kind of made sense that, like, with how the beginning of the season went, I felt like, personally, I was due for a better second half, where most guys might be getting a little more burnt out, and part of that could be, like, I don't show up to early season races fast, and they've been down south training in warm weather and they're ready to go, like, and then come the end of the season, like, I think that could have to do with it, but there's a lot of other aspects.
But few of them are skiing off the backside of like
there you
Altus.
Go. Who cares? And you were smiling for all winter. This was an amazing winter.
Incredible. I can't. Yeah, I was enjoying it. So
good.
But yeah, leading into Point to Point, I looked at the start list and I saw there were guys that are fast and that could definitely win the race. And I also had the mindset, like, I've done that race 3 times now. 4 unofficially. I rode it during COVID. That was the hardest day I've had on a bike. But I finished second at it the first official year that I raced it by like 30 seconds. Tanner Vishnik was the one that he ended up winning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Keegan didn't race that year. I think he was going to, but then I can't remember. I think air quality. Yes, air quality was terrible that day or something.
Okay.
Which Keegan's a genius. You got to whatever he's doing, you should be doing.
I
probably shouldn't have raced that race. Who knows? But yeah, I in that race, I was with him up until mile or PCMR, where you enter into Armstrong. This is in 2021, and I'd had to pee for like the last 30, that whole descent, or like even climbing up to Jupiter Bowl. Like I'd had to go pee, and I was like, I can't, because he'll get away from me. So I was like, maybe it'll go away. Like I'll just keep riding, and maybe I'll sweat it out. We hit PCMR.
Maybe it'll go away.
I don't know. But
this
it
is
didn't.
so the Epstein-Barr mind, man. I love this.
And yeah, so I ended up pulling off in the bushes, in the trees, and after you leave PCMR.
Yeah.
And I went pee there, and the gap I probably lost 30 seconds, and the gap he just kept riding. I didn't say anything. I was just like, I'm just gonna see if I can go really quick and be quiet. Yeah. But that was just inexperience. Like I actually talked to TJ after this, and he was like, dude, like you should have asked if he needed to go, because sometimes it'll be a mutual, like maybe he needs to go really bad, and we could have both just gone and then kept racing.
Yeah.
But yeah, the gap stayed like 30 seconds from there to the finish. I just couldn't close it down. And I don't want that to be my excuse, but I was like, okay, like I know I can be up there. And then the next year, Keegan showed up, and some other fast dudes like Lachlan was there, and Todd Wells, Kyle Trudeau. They were all on the podium, and I ended up finishing 5th in that race, which I was really happy with. My time was a little bit faster than the year before, but the course is also, I think, a little longer because they change it in sections. But yeah, so I went into this race in 2023, this beginning of September, I went into it just like, okay, I know if I have a good day, like there's a shot at me winning it. But it's not going to be easy. Like Zach Colton's showing up. We got Ryan Standish, like Kyle Trudeau, Danny Ben Wagner, Tanner Vishnik. Actually, Tanner didn't show up to that one this year, but a lot of fast guys. And I'm sure I'm missing a few. But yeah, it was just like, I'm going to go and I'm going to race it and see what I can do. And I was coming off of Leadville a few weeks prior. And I had a good race at Leadville. I PR'd. I did like a 6:43. Finished like 25th, but I was unsatisfied with that race, and had a lot of people coming up to me like, "Wow, that's so incredible! Like you killed it in that field, like that. Your time was so fast, all this stuff." And I just was like, "Oh, like thank you," but inside I just felt like I could have had a better day. It just, even though I beat my fastest time, I beat my PR. It was just like it wasn't what I was hoping for, and so going into point to point, I was hungry and feeling like I could do more, and point to point suits me really well in the sense that like it's single track for about 75 miles and it's technical and there's long climbs and you're at elevation, and I love that. Single track is what I enjoy most, and I've grown up riding single track in Alpine, up AF Canyon, and linking trails throughout Utah County, and it's just like, it's hard, but then again, like Park City, I don't ride up there a lot, and Park City is the only place where you can really link 75 miles of single track.
Special.
Yeah. So, I guess we can go into how the race went that morning. And I showed up to it, and from the gun, it was Round Valley. I knew I wanted to be up towards the front there. I didn't want to get stuck behind someone that could potentially let a gap get away, because I mean, even in that that early in the race, it's so crucial with that Round Valley loop. If one guy gets off the front and you can't get around the guy in front of you, you can get a gap there that could last the whole day. Mm-hmm. And so I went in the single track in third. Zach Colton was leading, and Ryan Standish was on his wheel, and it kind of just stayed. The group actually stayed quite big. I think there were like 5 to 10 of us climbing up towards Deer Valley. I forget trail names. I'm not good with trail names. Okay. So I'm gonna just
it's all good.
Deer Valley.
You know
Aid
what you're
Station.
talking about.
Yeah, we know it. Yeah.
And we hit Deer Valley Aid. I think at Deer Valley Aid there was 5 of us, and I went through there and grabbed a bottle, and ended up rolling out of the aid station in first. And Kyle Trudeau, guy from Arizona. I don't know if you guys are familiar with his name, but he followed, and I looked back, and we had about a 10-second gap just going in the single track, going through like John's. John's is the tree. That's the
tight trees.
That is my least favorite.
I was gonna say I hated that part.
It is
Roots from. Yeah, we'll keep it clean on here, but like.
I hit shoulders on those trees.
Bars. I hit my bars.
Pinkies. I have scars on both pinkies. But we had a little bit of gap, and we just kept pushing. We kind of trading. Whenever like a new single track would open, one of us would take the front, and Zach ended up riding back onto our wheel. And I was like, okay, he's on today. Like, he's strong. And he ended up not only riding on our wheel, but he went around us in a section and like took the front. I'm like, okay, most people would like catch up to us and sit in for a little bit. Like we're still only like 40-ish miles into the race. Like, but he went to the front and started setting the pace. And I just kept telling myself, like, I just got to hold the wheel in front of me. Just hold the wheel in front of me. Like, don't give up yet. Make it to the top of this climb. Like, that was my mindset going towards Jupiter, because it was a pretty steady pace that we were pushing. And so I made it to the top of the climb, and then there's kind of that like fall, you descent, and then you climb back up again. And it was like, it's a shorter climb, but again, it was just like, hold the wheel. I can't let any separation happen. And all 3 of us descended down to PCMR, and we were just ripping the descent. It was, I didn't ever go in front on that descent. I just sat in, was trying to get the legs recovered, drink where I could, because I don't like racing with a pack. So it's just where I can get a bottle in my hands, I'd drink. And then we hit PCMR and went into the trees. Zach, I think, dropped a bottle, and it ended up, or like something happened. I was riding his wheel, and then Kyle was in front of him, and Zach dropped a bottle as he was grabbing it, and it like went right under my wheel because I was just holding his wheel, and I ran it over on accident or whatever, and he ended up like stopping to grab it. He got it, but Kyle then just like started drilling it on Armstrong, and I think I would look down, and there were sections where we were doing like 300-400 watts, and we're 50 miles into the race, just flying. I'm just like, holy crap! Like, telling myself again, like, just hold his wheel. Like, we'll make it to the top of this climb. I know I pre-rode the last half of the course that Tuesday, and so I knew where the summit was, or the top of it was, and knew where I could recover. So I was like, just make it to the top. And yeah, held his wheel. And then Zach ended up riding back on a little bit before the top of that climb, which is like, man, like this guy's not giving up. Like he's on it.
Yeah.
And yeah, we rode across Mid-Mountain Trail, all three of us. And there's, I don't know the trail's names. After that aid station, the Water Oasis and Canyons, there's like a little wood chip, like dirt road section. It was just like covered in wood chips, and it was the only section that had opened up for a while. Or like it had just been single track up until that point. And so I went to the front and kind of just upped the pace a little bit, and we hit single track again. I looked back, and Kyle had fallen off a little bit, and so I was like, okay, like he's hurting. Like we got a little bit more climbing, and then it's a long descent to the finish. And Zach's still on my wheel, and when I pre-rode on Tuesday, I was thinking to myself that I don't know if you know where there's that dirt road, like 2-minute long climb that just in the middle of that descent, just it's a kill, like it hurts.
Brutal.
And then you have a long descent, and then I think there's one more little stinger. But when I pre-rode, I was like, okay, well, like if I'm in like the position to win the race, and I'm with someone, like this is the spot to see if you can crack them. And so right as we came out of the single track, I out of the saddle just attacked, and it lasted like 20 seconds, and I was blown. And Zach stayed on my wheel and rode right through me, and I'm like, crap, like this isn't how it's gonna end. Like,
Yeah.
So I was like, I know there's a long descent. I'm gonna get to the top of this. It's like it was probably like another like 500 yards or whatever. And so we get on the single track, and he's got like 15 seconds on me. And I just ripped the descent, was able to come back on his wheel, and I knew the next climb was coming, and I'm like, okay, this is going to hurt again. Like, I just got to hold on for one more climb, and then it will probably come down to a sprint. And so, yeah, I caught back up on his wheel. We hit that little climb as you like kind of roll over by that chairlift, and then you start switchbacking down into the Skull Candy headquarters.
Yep.
And he attacked there and got a little bit of a gap again, and it's like same situation. I fell off, rode back on the descent, and then I was just on his wheel at that point. I'm like, he can't get away from me. I'm riding his wheel, and now I'm preparing myself for a sprint finish.
Yeah.
Because there's no separation.
Yeah.
He's on it, like preparing for just that whole descent. I'm thinking, okay, this is gonna hurt for like 30 seconds. I just have to give it everything I have. Like I know when it's coming. And so we rode together into the finishing straight. I was just on his wheel, and there was one section where he made a mistake, and I could have overtaken him, but he was able to get back on like pretty quick on one of the descents. And then so we're coming down, you're on single track, you hit the bike path for like 100 yards. Sorry, I'm using.
It's all good. I know right where it is, just because we've been there.
Yeah, so it's pavement, and then there's a left-hand turn into some single track, and it winds around and then puts you on like the top of that little flat mound of dirt to the finish. And when I pre-rode on Tuesday, I was using the map on my computer, and I had missed that turn, just because like the course wasn't marked, but I'd missed it looking at my computer, and it was kind of hidden. And so I knew it was coming, and Zach's in front of me going into that, and he just overcooks it by like a few feet. And I was able to go on the inside of him there and carry all my momentum. He lost a lot of his momentum there by missing the turn. And from there it was just like head down, all out sprint. And I actually didn't have my smallest cog while I was sprinting. I don't know if you've seen the video of me coming in, but I'm actually coming in on my seat because I'm so spun out. And I also was running a 32 tooth chain ring, which I won't do again. But so I was really spun out, but just like trying to keep it together, and was fortunately able to hold on to it to the finish.
I have seen the video, and you guys come in hot. I mean, I don't know how many point-to-point finishes are ever like that, where it's a sprint finish. But yeah, it was.
I think the last one, I mean, I could be wrong, but the last one was in 2017 with Keegan Swenson and Todd Wells. And I was actually there watching that race. I wasn't racing because I was that was like the year that I was racing NICA, that first my sophomore year or junior year. And I remember watching Keegan Swenson and Todd Wells sprint to the finish, and I was in awe. Just like, how did they just ride 75 miles like together and then sprint like that? And I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Like, and then for me, like it had come full circle to be in that same position and to be able to sprint for the win. It was pretty special.
Cool.
That's awesome. Man, what a story. I have so many questions. We haven't asked you this before, but do you intentionally, when you're chasing the KOMs, you kind of described, you know, that you spend a lot of time in your training chasing some KOMs. Is that partially to find a way to live in the pain cave?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, for sure. It just forces me to push myself with no one being there to tell me to go hard. Like, I could stop and sit on the side of the road if I wanted to in the middle of a 20-minute effort. But there's times where I'll like, sometimes I'll go for a segment and I have like the little Strava Live segment to see where I'm at. And a lot of the KOMs or like trails I've been riding this year have been like segments that I have. So it's just trying to beat a PR. And there's days where like I'll go for it and I'll be way off, and then it's like, okay, I should probably back off on this effort because I'm not like, I don't want to drive myself into too deep of a hole if I'm like not riding how I could be on that segment, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Kind of a weird way to go about things, but so there are times where I won't push it, but then there's other times where I'm like, okay, like I know I'm recovered, I'm fresh. Even if I'm behind, like I'm pushing all the way to the finish to see what I'm capable of, just to get that, like the fitness gains or whatever. But yeah.
Fascinating to hear you just describe, you know, the point to point and the pain cave and, you know, how you think about those things. Do you have a relationship with pain? Are you dating pain?
Am I dating? Maybe. Yeah, I definitely do like enjoy the suffering. It's hard to pinpoint why.
Do you ever think about that? Just how you personally choose to be in a lifestyle and to put yourself in a place where you suffer?
Absolutely. No, there's been a few days where like I started golfing a little bit this summer, and I grew up golfing as well, just for fun, nothing competitive. But I was thinking, like in Tahoe, there's a golf course right next to the race star, and I was thinking to myself, like, man, why did I choose such a hard sport? Like golf's hard, but it's hard mental, like that mental like side of things, where this is just like physically and mentally. I'm like, man, what? Like it'd be fun to just go play a nice round of golf right now, keep my heart rate low. Like, no, I love it. It's good. I think it also makes like, whenever those hard days come, because they do, no matter who you are, it allows you to just get through those days, knowing you've done something hard. You can always do your hard, rephrase that. I guess like you can always get through the hard times if you're doing something hard. And I don't know if that makes any sense, but
it does.
It's kind of how I look at it. Like, there's peaks and valleys. There's times in life where things are great, they're going good, life is good, and there's times where things aren't going so good, and it's exactly like cycling. Like there's days where I feel good on the bike, or there's a climb where I'm suffering and I'm hurting, and then I get to the descent and I feel great. And I like to look at cycling like that. I have that perspective on things. Where cycling it ties into my life so much, and it's definitely a big part of who I am. And so, yeah, that's how I look at things.
You've shared a little bit about how you feel about coaches, a baseball coach. a cycling coach, for good and bad, right? They've all had your best intentions ultimately.
Yeah.
But let's say you were a coach. How would you coach? What would you do?
Yeah. Oh,
And
man.
maybe let's consider it a high school racer that's
Totally.
Competing varsity.
Yeah.
How might you coach him?
Honestly, I would tell him, like, the way I would go about coaching him is just keeping it fun. Like, he's young, he or she, they're young, and they're still figuring out racing. I'm still figuring out racing, but like they're so early to the game at that age, I think, in racing. And if they're just so results driven, I think that can be a bad thing, because you can't. It's hard. I can't say you can't, but it's hard to perform every single race and be the best of the best, or like be on your best game in every single race, unless you're Keegan. But no, I think just keeping it fun and finding ways to, like, whether it is chasing Strava KOMs or chasing PRs or racing with friends, like whatever that like way of just like keeping it competitive, but also just having that fun aspect to it. Of like, okay, if I'm going to push myself to the top of this climb, like I'm going to hit some jumps on the way down and like enjoy it.
Yeah.
I want them to, the sport's too beautiful to not enjoy it, I think.
To get burnt out.
Yeah. And so, just keeping it fun is, I think, the biggest thing I would emphasize.
You've used the beautiful word a couple times now, so describe that more.
Oh, man.
What's beautiful about suffering or riding bikes, or the combination of all of it? Like, you're creative, you're a marketer, you're learning those things. Paint that picture for us of the beautiful.
Yeah. I think it just goes into like the freedom of it. To begin with, like, the freedom of just being able to ride wherever, whatever you want to do. Like, it's just you on your bike, and there's no one for me, there's no one telling me I need to be on my bike, and you're in the outdoors, like breathing fresh air, you're getting exercise, ripping descents, whatever it is, hitting jumps, like it's all just beautiful. Like, it's good. There's nothing bad from it, in my mind. And just being fortunate enough to be able to ride a bike and be healthy and be able to race, and just the connections I've made through cycling, like it's all good stuff, and it's leading to good things. And I think that's the biggest thing, is it's just like you can get what you want out of it. That's the other thing. Like, no one's telling you need to go and do a race or whatever. Like, you can just go ride Corner Canyon, or go hit your road, like get on the road bike. There's no requirements, and that's what's so great about it. You can go at your own pace. You can get on an e-bike, whatever it is. So it's incredible.
Your mindset and your description is eerily similar to another really talented biker by the name of TJ Eisenhart. His description of the beauty of the sport, his description of freedom and independence, it's not surprising that you have a relationship with TJ. Do you want to describe that?
Yeah, no, TJ's been a huge influence on me, and I've looked up to him since I first met him when I was going into my junior year of racing, that year of hopefully being points leader, fastest cyclist in Utah, whatever you want to call it. I met him that fall before my first race, and just meeting him and the energy he put off. Like, TJ's so positive. He's always just has a good attitude on things. He's relaxed. Like, you just want to, when I'm with him, I just want to be more like him, because I definitely do have more of like an intense way of going about certain things. I'm more uptight with certain things, like whatever it is. Like, but TJ's he's there.
He's free.
He's free. He's always happy, always stoked. He's always wanting me to he's always telling me to relax, man. He's just telling me to relax. And I think it's so good. Like, he has a huge impact on me, and the example he's been to me, I look up to him a lot, and just from that year or that day I met him until now, and like it's been so cool to have crossed paths and actually be on the team that he's created. This year has been incredible. I just can't thank him enough.
Yeah, sweet.
The team, describe a little bit more about the team.
Yeah, so I'm on a team called Imaginary Collective, and it's part of TJ's brand that he's built. Him and his partner Andrew have built this brand that they have cycling. Imaginary Collective is whatever you want it to be. Is basically how I look at it. Like TJ supports me in my skiing, he supports me in my biking, he supports me in riding skateboards. Like he's painting me skate decks and telling me to go ruin the perfect artwork that he just did on the bottom of the board. I'm like, dude, I can't skate this. Like it's perfect. But yeah, no, he's telling me like, if you want to do a ski competition, dude, like we'll support you. Like we got you. Like he's just super supportive. And I think it's been really good for me with my background and feeling that stress of, like I said earlier, just like the pressure. I don't know if I should say stress, but just more so pressure of feeling like I need to perform or whatever it is, or ride my bike. Like TJ doesn't care what I'm doing. He just wants me to be me. And that's been the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Cool.
When we spent time with him, not even knowing who you were at the time, but when we were with him last, he described these two young athletes. He said, these guys are going to light the world on fire. This was well before P2P. And he described how valuable it was to him in his life and his progression as an athlete to mentor and coach. And he actually got pretty passionate about doing it in a way where the athletes could stay who they are and not lose their freedom and identity to brands. And that was kind of mind-blowing to Preston and I at the time because of really traditionally how the industry works. Just cool. TJ is a great human. I mean,
Totally.
He's an incredibly talented athlete, but it was cool for us to hear someone in his, situation, his background and capability to be so passionate about mentoring and helping others. And anyway, just it's come full circle now to kind of sit with you and to hear you, talk. And you're your own man, obviously, doing your own thing, with your own passion. But it's cool that you found mentors who also value that independence and that freedom.
It's been a good connection, a good relationship.
It's cool.
How about a couple rapid fire questions?
Let's do it.
Skin track or single track?
Depends on the day. If it's a deep pow day, I'm gonna say skin track.
Skin track. Yeah, I think we probably all agree there. If the conditions are right.
Chamois cream or no chamois cream?
That's a good one. I don't use it on when I train unless it's like a long, like 6-hour training ride. But
yeah,
if it's shorter, I won't train with it. But then race day, I always try to use it.
Yeah,
I had a bad experience in Maryland with the humidity. I won't go into it.
We won't double click on that. But whoever was riding your wheel that day, apologize.
Gravel or single track?
Single track.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure out the gravel racing.
You know what? I'm still trying to figure it out too. He's dragging me out on them more and more. I'm still trying to figure that out.
I enjoy it, but it's so tactical. And like this race this last weekend for the first 2 hours was just like 30-second, just all out efforts, VO2 max, and then just like noodling for like
really
a few minutes. And then someone would attack, and I'm just like, I don't train like this. Like I'm used to just going and like hitting a climb hard for like 30, 45 minutes and then recovering and doing it again, where it was just like on the gas, off the gas, on the gas. So still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Is there something there though in exercising the mental muscle of something you don't know?
Totally.
To keep it fresh?
Totally. Yeah. No, now like after that weekend, like I'm like, okay, I got to do some shorter intervals because I have not been doing those. So.
What else?
T-Swift or Metallica?
Metallica.
Yes.
I like the rock.
Yeah, nice.
Alice in Chains. You listen to
Stop it.
Rooster. That's been my go-to for the past few weeks.
Mark Glasgow.
You can thank him.
Yes. Well done, Mark. Kids are rolling. I like it. That's awesome.
So it sounds like you tour, you ski. Do you have a season pass somewhere, or are you all self-propelled?
I do have a season pass to Alta.
Okay.
Yeah, I ski there when I'm not touring.
Okay.
Last year I didn't ski there nearly as much as I had in past winters because of work, and the backcountry was really good last
Yeah,
year.
it was going off.
Avi pack or watch the rows?
Avi pack, but I do watch the rows.
Yeah. Good.
Nice. Well played.
So, yeah.
Freestyle.
Freestyle.
Take a few minutes. Talk about the people who've made the biggest impact in your life and why, or something you're passionate about, going on in your life.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we could go into video a little bit. We touched base on it briefly, but video is also something like I really love. It allows me to be creative and away from cycling. Like cycling, you can be creative, but this is more so just like whatever's on my mind. Like I can create.
Yeah.
I can bring it to life. Whether it's filming skiing or dirt biking or mountain biking, whatever it is, like or just making memories. Like I've always had a passion for creating videos from a young age. Like 4th grade was when I got a little iPod Nano, actually had a camera on it, and I just started. I would film like everything with that thing. It was probably like I don't even know what the quality of it was. Not even like 480p or whatever. Just like a potato. But I took that thing everywhere, and yeah, I just started doing video stuff, and I taped it to my chest and wanted to use it. I was trying to make it like a GoPro because I didn't have a GoPro, and then I got a GoPro, and just video has been something that has also had a big or played a big role in my life, and I love to just create whatever it is, and then go back and look at whatever it is that I had created in the past and remember those things. So yeah, it's.
So you do a lot of freelance work.
Yeah.
If someone wanted to get in touch with you to use you, how would they do that?
You just reach out to me through my social media.
Okay.
It's probably the best way.
What's your Instagram handle?
Truman Glasgow 12. 12 was my number. It was actually my brother's number growing up, and I followed in the footsteps.
Spencer's number.
Yep.
I
And
love that. That's awesome. Truman loves huge weddings.
No,
Thousands of people coming. Preferably lots of aunts by the name of Karen.
Particular mother-in-laws that want all the shots.
oh yeah, no, I've done my
man.
time with weddings.
That's awesome.
They're good.
Freestyle more. A little bit more. What else is going on? What else are you super stoked about that's coming up the next several months?
I mean, I guess what's next on the calendar is Big Sugar Gravel. That's the last big race of the year for me. I'm excited to go and just give it my all for this last big race of the season. And then I'll race some cyclocross.
Nice.
Just the local stuff.
Yeah.
But it's fun. I enjoy it. Also just bought a new dirt bike, so pretty stoked on that. Gonna go get out on that thing and
Trail rider or dunes rider?
trail. I'm a trail rider. It's go up AF Canyon,
Yeah.
ride with
Cool.
buddies. It's a good time. I also like to towards the end of the season take time off the bike and do other things, and I feel like dirt biking is the perfect tool for that. It's fun. It's still a workout and similar skills. Whenever I get on a dirt bike though for the first time in a while, I start riding it like my mountain bike in the sense of like I feel like I can't hit that rock or can't like go down this line, and I'm like babying it going up or downhill, and then I finally start getting the hang of like,
Steer
okay,
too
I
much.
can
Goes
hit
anywhere.
rocks. Yeah. But then I get back on my mountain bike and start riding it like a dirt bike, and I'm like, I can't hit that rock.
Yeah. Are you an e-mountain biker? Have you
haven't,
tasted that yet?
My mom has one, but it's a smaller frame, and I've ridden it around the block, but I've never gotten out on an e-bike now.
Yeah. I bet your bike handling is legit. No wonder you wanted to hammer down P2P.
Yeah, exactly. All that moto
Yeah, no,
pays off.
it's fun. It's a good tool to have, and I'm lucky to be able to have all the toys to
That's cool.
Yeah.
mess around with.
Hey, well, we're fans, man. We're fans of Truman for sure.
Big time. NGU. Love that.
Yeah.
Think just right in closing, whether it's parents, brother, grandparents, whoever, is there any one saying that sticks out to you that just replays itself in your head? Whether training, racing, or whatever, is it never give up? Is there anything else that you rely on as a mantra?
There's one other one that comes to mind, and it's actually from my grandma who just recently passed a few months ago at the age of 91. But her saying was, choose to be happy. and that's kind of stuck with me. It is easy to get caught up in whatever's going on and be frustrated or upset with certain situations, but if you can just like switch that mindset and choose to be happy.
What's her name?
Diane.
Diane.
Glasgow.
Grandma Diane.
Yep.
When did she first share that with you?
She's had it around for a long time, but it really stuck out. It was actually on a little card at her funeral, and it had like this art piece on it, and it just said "Choose to be happy," and it just stuck out to me there. And since then, it's just been like, okay, like because she was always like just such a saint, like always so happy no matter the circumstance. She's been through a lot, and always came out happy and was choosing to be happy.
Yeah. Grandma
It is a
figured it
choice.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Anything else you want to say?
Maybe, I don't know. I'm trying to think. I mean, shout out to TJ and Imaginary Collective there. I mean, TJ's the one that got me, and he got me connected with Tom. And so, yeah, just shout out to those guys. And
Yeah.
it's been super fun chatting with you guys. You guys are way cool.
We're middle-aged
No, you guys
wannabes,
are
man.
rad.
We're
like,
not that cool, but we would love to go on a bike ride sometime.
No, let's
That would
definitely
be
get
awesome.
out. We should do
Yeah.
it.
When that thing on your wrist, which is called a what?
A whoop.
A whoop.
Yep.
Yeah.
I guess I should have brought that up.
Yeah. Truman needs sponsorship, whoop. So, when that says stay in bed, you're too tired, we want to ride with
Yeah,
you.
give us a call.
Alrighty, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. When it tells you call Brain Stoke, we're in, man.
Alrighty.
This has been a blast. Thank you,
yeah,
Truman.
thank you guys.
Right on.
Super cool. We'll be cheering for you every race.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You've had your daily dose.